Hi guys, welcome back. Waxing on Monday. Traditionally, Monday's been a jazz day. And technically, it's still going to be a jazz day, but jazz with a real twist to it. Not what you normally expect. We're going to feature what was classified as this artist's first jazz or big band album. And if you read the title, you know we're talking about Frank Zappa. And most of you probably think, oh, he must be talking about Zappa's album, Jazz from Hell. Well, no. In fact, that was a bit of a misnomer. It really wasn't a jazz album. What we're going to look at today is a 1970s release, 1972, the album called The Grand Wazoo. Now, I'll just read you a little synopsis here that I found on Wikipedia. It says, along with his predecessor, Waka Jawaka, this album represents Zappa's foray into big band music. Now, this is 1972. This ain't your grandmother's big band music with Glenn Miller and Benny Goodman. It's not even my big band music at 1972. It was Buddy Rich, Woody Herman, Maynard Ferguson. These guys were all out there. Don Ellis, they were all touring and playing. This is big band with a Zappa spin. And if you're at all familiar with his music, and let's get away from the cliche. Everybody thinks, oh, here's this guy with all these, off-color ditties he does and stuff like that. There was so much more to him than just that. His compositions were very complex. They were very intricate, very complicated. And he wrote a lot of music that orchestras were covering. If you remember, we talked in the Zappa episode about Yellow Shark, one of his last recordings that he didn't do, but an ensemble modern did of his songs. And again, his stuff is very, very complicated, multi-time signatures in them, all kinds of stuff going on. He was a lot more than just that guy that wrote kind of novelty songs. And today we're looking at, like say, the album Grand Wazoo, which got him into that, incorporating more big band sounds. Now, remember, a lot of times Zappa still used a horn section on stage or had horn sections in his band from way back. But a little different this time. He's actually pulling in some LA studio people. So let's take a look. Grand Wazoo. Give you some idea what the songs are. And of course, in traditional Zappa style, they're very unusual titles. We've got, sorry, I put my book down there. We've got the Grand Wazoo. First, we start out with For Calvin and his next two hitchhikers. Number 2 is the Grand Wazoo. Number 3, Cletus Auritus Auritus. Number 4, Eat That Question. And number 5, Blessed Relief. Now, with the jacket, and I'm assuming this came in with the album as well. This was great. We not only have a little bit of artwork on here, depicting the horn sections, to give you some idea of what we're looking at. But there's like a multi-page story in here. The legend of Cletus Auritus Auritus and the Grand Wazoo. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. This goes on for pages, and again in very Zappa-esque style. But a bonus, right? Something extra to get along with here. It's great. Now, give you some idea who's playing on here, because we are calling it a big band album, a jazz-related album. I'm just going through. Here's a cast of characters. I don't know if you can see them here. It just lasts forever. The number of people he has on the songs, but I'm just going to pull out some of the ones that I recognize as some great players. First, I got Ainsley Dunbar on drums, and a lot of my albums he was playing with them. I think the first one I might have had that he was on was Chunga's Revenge, and that's where I first heard Ainsley Dunbar. We got Freddie Jackson and Ernie Watts on here playing saxophones. You may remember their name came up during the John Mayall segment. We were looking at the album called Moving On that he recorded in Los Angeles. So these are pretty regular names for LA players. We've got Selm Marquez, and he plays trumpet, and he's played on a lot of Zappa albums. Malcolm McNabb. Now here's an old-time LA studio player. Long way from Zappa. I just pulled up a couple of things he played on. He did a lot of film and TV work. He was one of the early first call guys for LA studio. You'll hear him on soundtrack for E.T., Jaws, Indiana Jones, Field of Dreams. If you go to his webpage, there's just a slew of things he's played on over the years. Zappa got him on here. We got Don Preston, who had been with the Mothers since the early days. I think on my We're Only In It For The Money, Preston was on there. Ernie Tack, trombone player. Again, he shows up on a lot of studio work. Originally been part of the members of, let me see here, Harry James, Gerald Wilson, Doc Severinsen Orchestra, Ernie Tack, trombone player. So we got a lot of people showing up. George Duke pops in here. Obviously, he's played a lot. I think Duke was playing with a lot of the stuff we've come up with over the last segment or two. I think I'm with Billy Cobham, maybe the CBS All-Stars, and obviously Zappa beforehand. We've got Erroneous playing bass on here on quite a few tunes. See if I got anybody new that we haven't mentioned. There's a lot of players. And again, the players change by song. Now, just give you one more thing. I see when they put out a new series of CDs, Zappa is getting more control over things, and his CDs now included this little logo that some of you may recognize. And by this stage, he's producing everything as well. So he's got pretty much total control over everything that's coming out. So he's not a victim of, someone else's vision. But a very interesting album. They all can be quite different. I mean, if you listen to any of the soundtrack albums like The Uncle Meat or 200 Motels, something like that, yeah, it may not be that accessible. And for a lot of people, it means changing your mind or opening up your mind to a different sound. We kind of anchor this in the big band music, so there is something familiar. We got the horn section. We got some players we know are in there that are, used to portraying this kind of music or presenting this kind of music, but there's that other twist on it. And this music is not always easily accessible, but it is interesting. And I'll tell you, it reminds me of, I guess, 1972. We're still in that same era when Miles Davis was going through all this change too and changing jazz. And there's some similarities between the two here, just in how complex they were. Except with Zappas, it's more not free improvisation. It is very detailed on what he wants and how he wants it played, and written out for the players or demonstrated to them. So an album to check out, a little different from our usual jazz. We're incorporating I don't want to say rock star because he really wasn't rock in the same sense. He's like a lot of these other singer-songwriters that his vision was very different from what you'd expect with rock and roll. But certainly an innovator, certainly made his mark in the music world. And today it was the Grand Wazoo 1972 album. Check it out. Give it a chance. You might be surprised. Okay, that's it for Monday. Everybody take care. Stay safe. See you on Wednesday for Classic Rock.